Hey everyone, welcome to the Big Fitness Show, episode 44. I turned my mic gain up, by the way. I know it was a little soft last time, so hopefully my raspy voice didn't annoy you all. But now it's louder and raspier, so I guess it will annoy you nonetheless. I have somebody that's not annoying at all. The draw, the baby face, as we say in professional wrestling. Big Mike Barons.
Hey, dude, how you doing?
Don't say my name. Don't say my name. You'll get copyright claimed and blocked. And you just started the Big Fitness channel. We're getting subscribers. I don't want to ruin anything for your plans.
Well, I'll call you Mr. Manna then. How about that?
Yeah, well, that's a Bible verse. That's a term in the Bible might get copyright claimed and blocked.
Shoot, I love it. I love it. Man, I'm so good to have this conversation for everybody listening. We were just catching up an hour or so before we started recording, and I just appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship and being able to have the conversations that we have, and I'm looking forward to our conversation right now. But I just wanted to say thanks, dude. Appreciate you.
No, same here, man. I have to throw that right back at you. Not many times in life do you have somebody that you share both things with, that you can understand the pro wrestling side of it and struggles, and also the health, fitness, and everything, and then just life in general. So I appreciate your friendship. Now let's go have a cheeseburger. No, we can't, because we're going to teach everybody about nutrition this week. Can't do that.
Yeah, no, this conversation this week, this episode is going to be about nutrition 101, foundational nutrition. I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. It's important, especially this time of year, because we're recording this at the beginning of the year. It's January 4th as we're recording this episode. And so it's really important that everybody has these New Year's resolutions, New Year's goals, things like that. But honestly, if you don't fix your nutrition, none of the rest of that shit's going to work. And I get real frustrated. And you and I were kind of talking about it a little bit earlier about, people doing the fitness piece, but not addressing the nutrition piece of it. And so I think it's just a conversation that needs to be had to really stress the importance of nutrition. Over the last year, I got a nutrition certification, got a couple other, two nutrition certifications, and a CrossFit trainer certification. And the one common theme throughout it all was that, fitness is cool, but if you don't address the nutrition, none of the rest of it really is going to create the long-term health and wellness. You're not going to maximize the results. So talking about that and really stressing this, if you don't want to listen to the whole episode, fine. The big thing is fix your nutrition and you'll be healthier and you'll achieve your goals faster. You can turn it off now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, too, even though it's a 101 episode and it's very basic, I think what we should start off with right away is, once you lock into your nutrition, say you lock in your nutrition in your 20s, well, your body chemistry and a lot of factors are going to change in your 30s. Then they're going to change in your 40s. Then they're going to change in your 50s, so on and so forth. That can be exciting and interesting because you're always treating your body like a lab experiment, much like we're working out. You're going to have to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And that's all part of the fitness journey. It's not the fitness destination. You will never get to the fitness destination. You will never get to the perfect nutritional destination either. You might for a little bit, but your body will change as you age. Different factors, different stressors. Literally, stress can kill your nutritional gains. And these are all the things you always have to be aware of and self-assess almost on a daily basis. So people could have turned off this episode after hearing that because it sounds hard. And guess what? Nutrition is the absolute, for you and I and everybody out there, it's the hardest part of anything with health, wellness, and fitness.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think that's a great place to start, to talk about some of the struggles that we've had over the years with the nutrition piece of it being hard. And, before I share some of the struggles I've had, it's hard, but it's simple. It's so simple to do. It's hard to execute. It's hard to stick to it. And that's, it's easy to go to the gym. I would feel like it's easier to go to the gym or easier to get a workout in because you're doing it. Whereas nutrition, you're constantly having to be mindful of it. You're constantly having to assess it. And so there's days, and some of the struggles I've had in the past have been like, I'll start out the morning great. I'll eat a good meal. I'll have some eggs. I'll have some sausage. Have some bacon. Have an avocado, whatever, and have a good
Oh, you
healthy
pissed a lot of
breakfast.
people off just with that, probably.
I know, right? I mean, so like those days start off really, really good, but then life happens and the day gets away from me and I didn't take the time to plan out lunch. So I grabbed something kind of okay for lunch and I had, I'll just make a sandwich, let's say, which is it's not the end of the world, but there's carbs in bread. And so then you're getting sometimes simple carbs that are there if you're not getting whole wheat bread, right? Like there's simple carbohydrates, the bleaching, all the kind of stuff that comes into the added carbs. And I grabbed that real quick, but I loaded it up with meat. So it's a more protein meal than it is a carb meal. But then the rest of the day happens and now supper's here and oh crap, we didn't plan anything for supper. So then I'm just like, well, what's the quickest thing to eat? I got kids. What's the easiest thing to make kids? Oh, spaghetti. That's super easy. Now we just added more carbs. And then that's just how the day goes. And then if you don't take some time to be intentional about those meals and plan them out a little bit, that happens. And then you fall into that repetitive cycle. That happens in my household right now. It is a consistent thing that happens where we didn't take the time to plan out ahead. And then we'll just grab whatever we can, throw together. And usually it's some kind of pasta or spaghetti because it's cheap and easy, and the kids love it. So it's a good thing. But then my wife and I are sitting here like, oh, where's this extra weight coming from? And oh, duh. It's because we're eating like jerks.
Well, yeah, I think the number one term that everybody plays is the justification game.
Yeah.
Like you just said with the sandwich. And by
Yeah.
the way, we should do an episode on like the homesteading aspect of nutrition because my wife
Yep.
makes her own bread for us, and
Mm,
there's ways around it and ways to
sure.
really eat healthier and cheaper. Although some people think fast food is much cheaper. Next week, we're going to
Yeah,
address
we'll
that.
talk
That's a
about that.
preview for episode 45. The justification game.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I know the bread and the bleach and the gluten or whatever other preservatives are thrown in there are unnatural things. For all we know, they throw red dye 40 in the bread too, but
Yeah.
I
Right.
have to check on that. But you just played the justification game by saying, but I have a lot of protein.
Yeah.
I know I'm
Yeah.
drinking a soda, but I drank a lot of water today already. I
Sure.
deserve this. I'm
Sure.
stressed today. The kids love spaghetti, so we'll just
Yeah.
have spaghetti and not make a separate meal. And then the kids want pizza night. You start playing justification games for, yeah, but, and then I'll get to it tomorrow. We all do it. I do it. You do it. Everybody. And there's nothing morally or ethically wrong with saying we want to share a spaghetti dinner with the kids. But
Sure.
from your health, wellness, and fitness journey,
Yeah.
every calorie, every carb, every preservative, every soda, it adds up. And it's never
Yeah.
just one, it's never just one day a week and things like that. So that's where the dangerous justification game can throw you completely off the rails.
Right, right. And I think that is a good jump off for what to do with your nutrition and how to really make it as simple as possible. Like you talked about preservatives and additives and all these things that go into food that we eat and consume. A couple tips or a tip with food that you eat is to just keep it as simple as possible, right? Like when you look at uh if you make your bread from home, your wife probably uses 4 or 5 ingredients to make the bread, and that's all she uses. And you made it from home, and you know what those ingredients are. If you buy a loaf of bread, there's so many other things in there that you don't know what it is. You don't know where it comes from. You don't know what they put into it, and so then it makes it a more complicated thing to consume. It's harder for your body to process, harder for your body to digest, all these kind of things because it's not as close to the source as it can possibly be. I'm a huge advocate of eating whole foods and getting whole food nutrition. That's going to make a huge difference. So even if you just switched from eating fast food, buying frozen meals, switched off of those things to being more intentional, cooking whole foods, using less ingredients, getting more like real food ingredients for the food that you make, that alone will make a huge difference in how your body feels every single day because you're getting better quality foods in your body. And as you're transitioning, I think that there's from a crappy diet to a healthy diet, if you're making that transition, it's figuring out what you can do to just make little improvements to make it simple to add the nutrition to get better nutrition so that you can really focus on it. So you really got to look at the ingredients. It boggles my mind. Derail us for just a second. In the supplement industry, I've been in the supplement world for 10 years. And every time I've ever talked to somebody about supplements, they're immediately become an ingredientologist, and they're looking at the back and they're like, well, what's in this and what's this and what's this and what's this and all, wanting to know all these different ingredients. And they'll ask me a million questions about all these things. And then I answer it. Do they look at their food with the same scrutiny? Do you look at that box of crackers that you buy with the same scrutiny? Do you look at that loaf of bread that you buy with the same scrutiny? No, most people don't. Most people just assume it's in the grocery store and it's food and now we can eat it. But the reality is it's not food. It's just this manufactured thing that you can eat. But it's not whole food. And I think from a nutrition perspective, just foundational nutrition, it's important to make sure that you're getting whole food diet all the time. I don't know where I was going with that,
But
but
the simple thing is, I guess if eggs are eggs usually. There's some that
yeah,
are better quality than others. Eggs are
sure.
eggs, and those prices have come down. I'll give you an interesting thing about the bread. Even though, I used to be very frightened of carbs, but they were a lot to do with the processed stuff and the,
Mhm.
things that were in the store-bought bread. My wife, I think now bread is like even the cheap like Wonder Bread or whatever is anywhere from $3 to $5 a loaf.
Mm,
That's a lot. Maybe
yeah,
we're. I think that and then the honey wheat and other brands for 5, six
sure,
bucks. She
sure.
made a loaf of bread that was bigger than those, and I think it was less than $1 for the 4 or 5
Wow.
ingredient. I don't think it was 5 ingredients. It might have been 4. And actually, we watched a YouTube channel called The Outdoor Boys. Great for guy goes out camping in Alaska, does all this stuff.
Oh, awesome.
Every time he camps out, he has bread in a freezer bag, the dough, and I think it's unleavened. He literally puts it on a cast iron skillet that he has with him, puts a little honey and butter melted down. Dude, this thing is like a big piece of like toasted naan bread.
Awesome.
It's
Awesome.
awesome, and it's just literally just those ingredients. And that's what people say. "Oh, I don't have a bread maker. I can't do this. What if you could literally just grill it on a flat skillet, cast iron, and have
Yeah,
probably the best piece of bread you've ever made or ever
sure.
had. So
Yeah,
it is. We'll get to it next week with the fast food stuff and everything, but to have that food at home and know exactly what you put in your body
yeah.
is just so much of an eye opener. And it actually makes your decisions to eat simple easier because there's really a limited amount of foods you can eat that are whole foods. Everything
Right.
else is like instantly. It's like doing your own elimination diet without
Yeah.
meaning to.
Yeah, no, and I think that you touched on a couple things there that to eliminating the food of what you want to do. The one thing that you want to do when you go to the grocery store is eliminate all the stuff in the middle, right? Like shop the perimeter of the grocery store. So when you're talking about dairy and eggs and meat and cheese and fruits and veggies and things like that, that's the core of what you're going to want to eat. Every time you go into the middle of the aisles, you're running into highly processed, overly processed, manufactured foods that are edible, but are they actually food? So like that
Yeah.
cuts out chips and all the crackers and all this kind of stuff, candies that gives you more of a better whole food, healthy diet because you just shop on the perimeter of the grocery store now. And that, I mean, it just,
Why do you think that is?
that,
That's interesting. I never noticed that. Why do they design supermarkets like that? Where the healthy food is
uh,
on the outer perimeter and then everything's on the I've never noticed that.
That's a good question, but I think it's the essential stuff that most people need. I mean, I would assume. I'm guessing, totally
Maybe it's
guessing.
the refrigeration is around the edge or the walls of the
Oh, that could be too.
supermarket. I mean, I'm a
Yeah,
conspiracy theorist, so it might be more nefarious. I'll look into it. But the cold stuff that needs refrigeration and freezing is usually towards the ends of the supermarket where you can't really have
yeah,
the the refrigeration or the lines. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah, seems logical. Logistically, that seems
I
like
mean, they're
why it would
trying to
be that
kill
way.
us all. I mean, that's really my first go-to. Or maybe it's in the
Sure,
shape of some Masonic, like black and white as above, so below, or maybe it's
sure.
shaped like a pentagram. I don't know. We're getting into subjects. That's my
Well,
only.
you check
That's
that out for us.
I'm preparing to fill in for George Norrie on Coast to Coast AM. I'm really I got the Midnight Express music, you know.
I love it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I don't.
kind of
I mean,
derailed
it's it.
everything.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. Like I think that I don't know that there's an answer. I don't know the answer to that. We'll have to do some research on it and get back to everybody. But I just feel like that is, and I've heard that before from other people. It's not something that I came up with. It's shopping the perimeter of the grocery store will get you more food. It eliminates a lot of the crap. And one thing that um, people don't realize is these additives and these extra ingredients that are in our foods a lot of times can cause inflammation in our bodies. And if you can do an elimination diet where you eliminate those things. And to bring it back to what you said, that 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, as you age, your body changes. And what foods you could eat in your 20s, I can't eat in my 40s without it driving me nuts, right? Like foods you ate and things you did in your 30s, you're probably not going to be able to eat in your 60s, but it's figuring out what those are and using yourself as a test dummy and finding a foundation to go from is where you need to start, in my opinion. So dial everything back, eliminate all the junk, all the extra foods that you don't need, all the extra additives and things. Stick to a whole foods diet. That's the first place to start when making a nutritional change. Whole foods diet, and then what I mean by that, whole foods. It's if you can't go pick it out of a garden, if you can't grow it and then not process it at all and eat it, then that's not a whole food, right? Like if you cut if like a cow can be processed into beef, so it's minimal processing to get to the actual beef. You're obviously not going to go be able to take a bite of a cow. You're not lying, right? So, the minimal processing to be able to get to the food that you want to eat, that's a whole food. If you go and buy like a box of Cheez-Its, that's not a whole food, right? Just to try to give people an example. And if you can eliminate a highly processed foods, give yourself a good baseline. CrossFit has a nutrition approach where it's uh, meat and veggies, nuts and seeds, some fruit, uh, little starch, and no sugar. And if you can take that approach to your nutrition, you can eliminate a lot of the junk because you're prioritizing meat and veggies, nuts and seeds, good healthy fats. Then you're getting some fruit, little starch. Starch is carbs, good carbs to help you support the level of fitness that you're doing. So if you're not a very physically active person, then you don't need a lot of carbs to support the level of fitness. If you're a CrossFit Games athlete, you probably need more carbs to support that level of fitness. You and I are somewhere in the middle. We need a little bit of carbs, but not a lot of carbs to support that level of fitness. And if you can take that approach to your nutrition, it helps establish a baseline. And then if you want, you can add in a cheat meal. You can add in a thing to test what causes inflammation in your body. And so but you won't be able to know what's causing the inflammation if you haven't found a baseline with your nutrition. And so if you're someone who's overweight or just feels like you want to make a nutritional change, find that baseline, meats and veggies, that's your focus. And then stick with that for a week or two to normalize your body, probably 2 weeks. Find that baseline before you add anything else back in. Sometimes for some people, dairy can be very inflammatory. Some people don't have any problems with dairy at all. Sometimes sweet potatoes or regular potatoes can be very inflammatory to people. Sometimes it's not. You just got to figure out what works for you. But if you don't have that baseline foundation, you're never going to know. And so the more that you can get your baseline foundation, you can figure it out, then you can start to see, oh, what's really causing me to feel this way? And you'll notice just a massive difference in how you feel every day because you're not getting all of those things that cause the inflammation and cause you to feel bloated and fat and like crap all the time.
Do you think the CrossFit athletes should also take a lot of calcium for all the snapped spines and everything? Do you think it's something to supplement when they break their backs? Just wondering. I was waiting. I was like, I gotta keep going. I gotta keep her. I gotta remember this joke. He's talking. I gotta remember the joke because I always forget by the end. I didn't have time. So
Yes, they do.
nice.
That's great.
I speak from experience. I feel your pain, CrossFitters. I also am missing vertebrae. I feel your pain. You know what you described though, Mike? I'm sorry. They hate me all. They all
No,
hate me.
it's fine. It's all good.
I'm sure they've heard that before too.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was gonna say that. Well, how do you know a CrossFitter? They'll tell you.
Just all the jokes. I love it.
First for all CrossFit. Always talk about CrossFit. But you know, what you talked about with the nuts and seeds, meat and veggies, stuff like that, and eliminating sugar. It sounds an awful lot. Even people are like, my God, I got to eliminate all this stuff and do this. I think one of the most accessible diets, and I haven't really embraced it, but I always wanted to because I feel like it's the least restrictive, is the Mediterranean diet. If you look in the Mediterranean diet, you're going to actually like be like, oh my God, there's so many choices of food to eat. Instead, you know, you obviously have to be careful because it does include dairy. So if you are dairy, I'm one of those people kind of teetering on the edge of that being sensitive to dairy and have to be very careful. But the Mediterranean diet feels like the one that doesn't limit you. As a matter of fact, it's like you need to eat on this diet.
Yeah.
It's very much something where you sit around and you see people all sharing food and having lots of choices. And there's even an introduction of red wine in with that for your heart and stuff. So I feel like that would be, if people are worried about, my God, I got to eliminate everything I like, and I feel like I've starved myself, that might be the diet where it's not a carnivore or keto where you're really stripping away stuff. That might be a good start for somebody that doesn't want to just eliminate everything from their diet.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's finding something that you can stick to is huge. But also too, like I would say, if you're thinking to yourself after you listen to this episode and hearing us talk about different things that you can do and eliminating things from your diet, well, do you want to eliminate foods or eliminate disease? Like you can eliminate foods, which will help you eliminate diseases that you potentially have. If you don't eliminate the foods, are you keeping those diseases? You know, like it definitely sounded better in my head when I was about to say that, but it's one of those deals that like, tough shit. You got to eliminate some food if you want to be healthy, and you can't keep eating cookies and cake and all these kind of things and expect to hit your fitness goals. But what I really want people to get from this talk that we're having right now is look at the freaking ingredients that you buy in the store. Look at the products that you purchase in the store and look at the ingredients and see what's there. Here's one that really caught me off guard, and not in a bad way, but just was like surprising to me. Shredded cheese. You think it's just cheese, and it probably is for the most part, just cheese. But the shredded cheese, have you ever bought a block of cheese and shredded it?
We just did that. It's funny you say that. We literally my wife pointed to the ingredients in the bag cheese, which was like $5, a little bag for not much shredded cheese.
Yeah.
And we bought the Cabot block that's the good cheese and
Yeah.
stuff like that. We even bought a big block of Amish butter instead
Yeah.
of the butter. And
Sure.
it's cheaper. I'm with you. I know I'm interjecting. We literally just did that and made 2 big Tupperware fulls of that off of like a fifth of the block.
Yeah.
You know, which is like probably the street value, $30-40 a cheese at
Well,
Publix. Yeah, I'm with
but
you,
did
man.
you
The
notice?
ingredients were, I mean, there were like 3 to 4 lines minimum of ingredients. It's
Well,
just
and the
supposed to be
texture,
cheese.
yeah,
It's
the
supposed to be
texture of
cheese.
it's so different too, because when you buy a bag of shredded cheese, they have to put some type of coating on it to keep it
Mhm.
from sticking together. And if you shred cheese, it looks a lot different than a purchased bag of shredded cheese because it sticks together, it clumps together, and it doesn't look like this perfect idyllic shredded cheese, and so that's one that just it hit me, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm never buying shredded cheese again. And
Yeah.
it frustrated my wife at first because she liked having just the convenience of the shredded cheese, but I was like, babe, they put a whole bunch of extra crap on it to keep it that way. I will shred the cheese for you. And so I got a cheese shredder, and I just shred a Tupperware of cheese, and so she has it when she wants cheese and stuff. But that little thing that you don't even realize, like, everybody can look at a cupcake and say, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't eat that cupcake. But shredded cheese, okay, like, you can justify it. It's not the worst thing in the world that you could
They're
eat. And so
telling you
people
it's
don't,
shredded cheese, but it's a whole lot more.
right, right. And you just don't even think about it. And so it's more of I guess the foundational piece of nutrition is just use your brain and start being more mindful. Think about the world that we're in and the obesity epidemic that is happening here. We're all fat, like 50%, 60, 70% of the population is obese, and it's not healthy. And if you look at the foods that we have now versus the foods they had 100 years ago, there's a huge difference. And just that, if you look at everything through that lens, could I have eaten this 100 years ago? Could I have eaten this food 150 years ago? If I couldn't have, then maybe I shouldn't eat it now, right? And if it's some kind of brand new food that just developed in the last 100 years, then look at it from a lens of, okay, is this totally manufactured? Does it have a lot of artificial fake crap in it? Should I eat this? Then if it does, then no, don't eat it. But if it was an apple, you could probably eat an apple 100 years ago. If it was an avocado, maybe in northern Illinois, you couldn't have eaten an avocado 100 years ago, but avocados could have been eaten on the planet 100 years ago. So it's just one of those deals that you really got to look at everything through a lens and just be mindful of what you're putting in your mouth. You don't accidentally eat things. It just doesn't happen that way.
All right, here I go. I'm going to sound like Alex Jones again.
Yeah.
No, I here's the thing. Here's the thing. They think that the public, we've been indoctrinated as well, and we got to fight it all the time.
Sure.
Everybody's been indoctrinated to believe that the people in these corporations that create these foods, that process these foods and all this stuff care about you. Care about you as much as you would if you were like, hey, I'm going to make this food for my mom or my daughter or my son or my wife or husband, and I want to make sure it's healthy and it has everything they need.
Yeah.
No, they don't. They're trying to put out a cheap product that lasts the longest amount of time. It can sit on the shelf for God knows how many years. As a matter of fact, we talked off air before, even Chick-fil-A, which is supposedly the healthy fast food. Well, I saw a video where someone put the chicken sandwich patty with the bread on a shelf for 3-4 months, and the chicken patty did not discolor. Did not. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it for my YouTube channel. I'm going to take that as supposedly the healthiest fast food. They'll probably end up hiring a sniper outside my house, but the black helicopters will come.
Yeah.
So, but 3 to 4 months later, and they had a chicken wing that they naturally had, like even from the store, which was like processed chicken. That chicken wing after a week looked like you wouldn't even touch it. But the Chick-fil-A patty looked like you could throw it in the microwave and eat it. Even the bread didn't really just get mold on it or anything, like normal bread.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? So that's what I mean. That's where we have to fight when we go to the supermarket. You're making the assumption that these people care about you and your health.
Sure.
They don't.
Yep.
The bottom line is they're trying to create the cheapest product for the highest margins of profit and also satisfy the supermarket that these products could stay on the shelf for months, if not years, without spoiling. That's the coating, the preservatives, all the other stuff that's everything but shredded cheese. There's my tangent.
It's true though, man. Like I agree with you on all of that, and it's exactly what happens with food companies and the way that they manufacture food. And if you look back, like even the not to totally go all conspiracy theory on us, but
let's go. Frogs are gay. Frogs are gay. Let's do it. Come on, man.
But even the food pyramid that the government has put out.
Oh,
because you know what I mean? Like, think about it. But Here's my struggle is I talk with a lot of people who just don't know any better. And it's not their fault that they don't know any better. It's they haven't taken the time to learn. They just followed the guidelines that were put out and they trust that that was right. And the base of the food pyramid was all of these simple carbohydrates. And that was what it was for years. And it just has turned into, you can't argue with what that has done for the population of the United States. Like it has totally changed the way that everybody looks and the way that things are. And people, the obesity epidemic is just out of control. And so they've shifted the food pyramid now to be a little more realistic, but I would even go further to not eliminate the carbs, but keep those carbs at a very, very low amount to support activity, to support fitness. And so focusing on meats and veggies, that's the goal for everything that you need to do. And that should be the priority of all the food. But so many people just don't know. And so the simple answer to nutrition in my view, and this is why I'm so bought into the CrossFit mindset, because I feel like they take a very simple approach to fitness, to nutrition. Yes, you can make the jokes all you want, and that's fine. They're totally valid, and I'll make the jokes too. But the effective approach, the simple approach, what CrossFit is supposed to be, is meats and veggies, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. Like, how simple is that? It is so simple. Is it a meat? Okay, you can eat it. Is it a veggie? Okay, you can eat it. Nuts, seeds? Okay, eat them. Some fruit? Okay, you can eat fruit. Little starch? Okay, you can eat some carbs. No sugar, no added sugar. Obviously, fruit has sugar in it.
It's one thing we would tell everybody to cut immediately, processed sugar, and you'll be 100% better. Dude, I'll tell you what, if nobody out there was out with the food pyramid, like say years ago, the time you should have checked out on the food pyramid was when Janet Reno wanted to put pizza in the food pyramid. Remember?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know about the government and the food pyramid right there.
Right. And then too, a couple other things along the lines of that is like cereals. People have been taught to believe that cereal is healthy for you, like Cheerios is healthy for you because they're heart healthy and they have whole grains in them and all this kind of other stuff. Little pro tip for everybody. And this might sound like I'm bashing things, but this is just the reality of the situation. And I see it
this is the elimination diet method that everybody has to think about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. And so the way that the marketing and all of this stuff is regulated is if it has whole grains in it, they can make a claim that it's heart healthy. Doesn't matter that there's 50 grams of sugar per serving. That doesn't matter at all. But because it has a whole grain in it, they can claim that it's heart healthy. Doesn't matter if it's 1 gram of whole grains or 100 grams of whole grains. They can make the claim on it that it's heart healthy. Like in the supplement industry, I use this analogy all the time. We all know that protein helps you build muscle. A product with 1 gram of protein in it can technically make the claim that it helps build muscle because it has 1 gram of protein in it. But we all know that 1 gram of protein is not going to be as effective as 20 grams of protein when it comes to building muscle. So for me, it's one of those deals that the fancy marketing on the front of these products doesn't mean that it's healthy. Just because it says non-GMO on the front of it doesn't mean that it's healthy. Just because it says heart healthy on the front of it doesn't mean that it actually is, because I've seen so many products that claim to be healthy, but when you flip the ingredients over and you look on the back, they're full of sugar, full of stuff that doesn't work for you. When I was a kid, my grandma, I love her. She passed this last summer and I love her so much. But when she had it in her head that she would give us licorice because it was a fat-free candy. And so fat was the enemy. Fat was the worst thing. So fat, if you had fat-free candy, then you were fine. It didn't matter that there was crazy amounts of sugar that got converted to fat because people just were ingrained to think that, fat was the enemy, right? And so we had a fat-free candy. And it's still to this day, if you pick up a bag of Twizzlers, it says fat-free on it. And it's just one of those things that's just so backwards in our line of thinking. And we've realized now that sugar is the enemy. You put sugar in everything, it causes inflammation, causes the causes the conversion to fat storage, all this kind of stuff. And if you can eliminate all that sugar, it makes a huge difference. So really looking at the ingredients. If you take nothing away from this conversation, I know I told you to turn it off 20 minutes ago, but if you take nothing away from this conversation, it's you've got to take away from this to look at the ingredients and know what you're putting in your body.
I think on top of that too, and maybe this will be the last point and the most important point, you talked about the fancy marketing and what they
Mhm.
do and everything. You really have to look at a serving size and you have to pour it out
Mm.
in the actual serving size.
Yeah.
Cereal is one thing. Nobody has the recommended serving size for a bowl of cereal. And nobody has
Right.
the half cup is nothing. It's like a
Right.
handful, maybe if you have a big hand.
Right.
Other than
Right.
you just said that serving has 28 to 50 grams of sugar in it.
Right.
You're getting at
Right.
least, I would conservatively say 2 to 3 servings in a regular bowl of cereal, not counting the milk and not counting when people actually do put sugar on top because the Cheerios aren't sweet enough. So you got to throw
Right.
some
Right.
sugar or even some artificial sugar like a Splenda or something with sucralose in it.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you're literally taking multiple days of recommended servings. Not even that's the government's recommended serving. You're taking multiple
Right.
days worth in one bowl of cereal,
Right.
and it's all processed sugar.
Right. Right. Yep. You know, it doesn't matter how heart healthy it claims to be. That much sugar creates havoc in your body, and then all the artificial stuff on top of it too. So to put a pin in this for now, and we'll pick up more next week when we talk about fast food and versus whole foods and cost savings and things like that. Because crazily, people make claims that fast food is actually cheaper, but
Well,
it's
you saw
not.
what that guy looked like. His
Spoiler
son
alert.
had.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Yeah. It's just not. So, but it's one of those deals that with nutrition, your foundation of your health and wellness, even if you don't want to work out, you can still live a healthy life. I would obviously encourage you to work out. Like that's the next tier of the foundation is taking care of your body, working out. But nutrition is the foundation of everything that we do. So if you're eating healthy, if you're staying hydrated, you're getting in all of the things that you want, that is the core to being healthy long term for in your 20s, 30s, 40s, all the way up to 80s, 90s, 100s. Nutrition is going to be the most important thing for long-term health and wellness. And so just know what you're putting in your body. Stick to whole foods. That will be the biggest impact and change that you can make in your nutrition going forward. So,
Well, it's a good thing we're not monetized because we would have got demonetized for this video.
yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, definitely. So we'll be bringing the hardcore truth up until around what 10,000 watch, 3,000 watch hours or something.
Yeah, right.
1,000 subscribers.
So anyway, that's it for the Big Fitness Show this week, everybody. Appreciate you all for tuning in and listening to this conversation about nutrition. It really is important. I can't overstate how important it is. If you got some value from this, share it with somebody who might get some value from it as well, because I really think a lot of people just don't know when it comes to nutrition. So share this episode with people. And then if you have questions, as always, you can email us at thebigfitnessshow@gmail.com. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have about nutrition and getting healthier and getting on a path towards
a
long-term
voicemail
health.
too. You got to leave that voicemail. We'd love to play a voicemail and interact. And if you're that person that thinks this is going to be too hard, or you get angry about this because there's a defense mechanism to the food you love. And people say, yeah, life is short. Life will be really short if you eat the food the way, these places want, but it's quality over quantity. Don't you want to live healthy and be comfortable and play with your kids? And don't you want to have a fulfilling life? This stuff makes you want to just all day long.
Yeah.
Break out of it, break to change that and live a happy, healthy life. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Totally. No, totally. If this episode triggered you, this was for you. So exactly. All right. So for myself, for Big Stevie Cool, appreciate you. That's it for the Big Fitness Show. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks so much.
Let's go have a hamburger.